our government is inundated with traitors. And we are also inundated with people that are illegal aliens inside of our government. And I'll give you a perfect example. I wrote about this in a book. I've talked about this.
Meanwhile,
my father, as the one processing the paperwork, put my grandmother down as his mother. And so I am illegal in this country. My parents are illegal here in this country.
Stop breaking the law, asshole!
What's up, everybody? It's your girl Mika, and we're back for another Red Cup Talks because this is where truth, pop culture, and politics meet. So I wanted to come on and talk about something that I thought I would never have to talk about, and that's illegal immigration making its way into our state representatives. Yes, an illegal immigrant and another one that we know of are state representatives. And I do mean just bold and bared, just decided to go ahead and talk about being a legal immigrant on the state floor. You cannot make this up. I want you guys to see this. Watch.
The only people that had names to come to the U.S. were if you were in the direct military and you worked for the CIA or you worked for USAID, and which is why it's so personal to me that USAID is getting unfunded, but we did not do either one of those. My parents' Christian organization did not count. And so what my father did was one of our uncles worked for USAID, and because his mother had died, my father, as the one processing the paperwork, put my grandmother down as his mother. And so I am illegal in this country. My parents are illegal here in this country.
All right, so there you have it. This woman right here, who is a state representative for Minnesota, said her family came illegally. They're still illegal, and she's even illegal. Like, you cannot make this stuff up. How is she not arrested? How is this? Like, there needs to be an investigation, like ASAP, like right now. And even when she tried to clean it up, she said, oh, well, I'm here legally. Yes, she's here legally because she came in under the Refuge Act of 1980. However, just because you're a refugee doesn't give you U.S. citizenship. You still have to go through the process. You're just allowed to be in the country legally. However, it didn't stop there. You would think she would have caught herself and stopped talking about it. However, she kept going and even got emotional. Watch.
And I tell you this story because I want you to think about who it is that you are calling illegal. My family was just smarter in how we illegally came here. We had more privileges and more ability, which is why we came here in that way. Representative Schultz says that those who broke the law to come here. When you think about those things, people think about me. My family broke the law to come here. I never knew that. I just learned that now. So when you're thinking about voting no on this bill, you're voting no against someone like me. That we are the people that you are calling illegal.
OMG, she just admitted that her family broke the law and she has no qualms about it. She's actually emotional because she's connected to being here illegally, talking about, oh, she didn't know how she came over here. She just found that out. No, ma'am, you knew this already. She knows that there's no consequence, so she doesn't mind talking about it. But this is wild that a state representative could sit there and tell us, the American people, that, yeah, I broke the law. Yeah. And I'm getting paid on your dime. Yes, I'm getting paid by the state of Minnesota. And it doesn't matter because you guys want to stop people from coming here. So we're going to have to be smart and break the law. Like, I don't understand how this is not an arrestable offense. The Democrats have sunk to the all-time low, and I don't know how they come back from this. However, there's more. All right, so now I want to turn your attention to a former deputy patrolman and what he had to say about a book he wrote about who's in the government, okay, and how illegal immigrants not only become traitors inside the government, they're all in the government working as state representatives and others, okay? You cannot make this stuff up. I want you to hear what he had to say. Watch.
Why are we not doing this? Why? And I'll give you one example to why we're not. Because our government is inundated with traitors. And we are also inundated with people that are illegal aliens inside of our government. And I'll give you a perfect example. I wrote about this in a book. I've talked about this. I went and testified in Congress, which I'll never do again because it's a complete waste of my time. And a congresswoman by the name of Delia Ramirez from Illinois sits in front. She's on a dais. They have them sit up there, and you can't talk. You have to hit a button to talk, and if it's not green, you can't talk. and they get 5 minutes. She spent 4 minutes of her 5 minutes just slandering me. I'm a white nationalist. I'm a bigot, xenophobe, racist, blah, blah, blah. She pulls up an X post. It's not my X post, but she makes it as if my X post with a noose in it. You know, making the noose connection between a white man and a noose. He's a racist and wants to kill people that are not white. Then she gets very emotional. And I get very interested because I did this for a living. I'm sitting there watching someone get very emotional, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, let's listen carefully. She begins to talk about women being raped on the border. And she says, I don't ever want to have to discuss this horrible thing again because my mother was raped on the border crossing from Guatemala into America when she was pregnant with me. The sitting Congressman Ramirez just admitted that she's an illegal alien. And I'm looking at the dais. I'm looking at all the pasty white guys in the Republicans that are morons. Morons. They have no idea. What are they doing there? They don't even know what the hell they're talking. They don't even know what questions to ask. Then I'm looking at the Democrats, and I'm looking back and forth going, is anyone going to say it out loud? Is anyone going to say that we have Miss Ramirez is an illegal alien from Guatemala?
Not one person will, especially not a Democrat. I told you guys a long time ago, okay? Democrats, this is what they want, and they've been doing it for a while. They want those type of people in office because it gives them a whole new demographic of voters. The Democrats play the long game, okay? But the Republicans will sit there and absolutely say nothing because they don't want to be racist. They don't want to be a bigot. They don't want to be xenophobic, instead of saying what the Constitution says. So at the end of the day, this problem with illegal immigration is a Democrat and Republican problem. This man said he testified at Congress. Nobody batted an eye. Nobody said anything. And we just watched the video of the state representative actually saying what she said, being that she said she was an illegal immigrant in this country. And this man is saying another congresswoman on the federal level said it. And I want to go ahead and show you that congresswoman. Watch.
The idea that my uncle, who has been in this country for 35 years, with 4 boys from college, he's working right now at a diner and will have to be working there for a couple of 4 years. I don't know when he'll be able to ever retire because he contributes so much in this country and he's in a broken immigration system. At any moment, he'll be deported. And I am a sitting member of Congress. It's infuriating. And it's why, maybe between now and November 5th, I will do everything in my power so that orange evil monster never gets back in it. That's my husband. That's my uncle. That is half of my family.
All right, so you just heard it right there from the congresswoman's own mouth, okay? Her husband is illegal. This is her uncle who is illegal. He's been here 35 years, has kids in college, all right? And then she said half of her family is illegal. Like, you can't make this up. And she's a sitting member of Congress. What is wrong with the Democrats? What are you guys doing? This is outrageous. And people should be even more outraged by it. And an investigation should happen. And honestly and truly, since ICE knows where certain people are, they might as well go ahead and pick up these people. Go ahead and pick up the state representative, okay? And go ahead and pick up Congresswoman Ramirez. All right, so now let's get into the liberal media. Now, we know that Abby has TDS, bald-headed reasoning, all of the above, okay, when it comes to Donald Trump. And the people that she brings on are no different. However, I want to get to this point of most of the establishment media mentioning that LA or California in general used to belong to Mexico. So what? Okay, borders change all of the time. I'm from Washington, D.C. Most of D.C. used to belong to mostly Virginia and a little bit of Maryland. Guess what? It doesn't belong to either one of them anymore. It's D.C. However, they want to use that as a basis to say, well, it used to belong to Mexico, so now the Mexicans could just come over because it used to be their land. I don't know what they're smoking over there at CNN, China News Network, it belongs to China. However, I don't know what they're smoking, but it's absolutely asinine. And these people definitely are Trump deranged. Watch.
I was born in LA. That's where my roots are. That's where I started my career. It is almost 50% Hispanic. Remember that California was part of Mexico. All of the Southwest is Mexico. So the roots are really deep in that region. And what they're saying is, no, not in our community. Because when they're coming in, even though there's second, third, fourth, fifth generation Latinos that live there, Mexican Americans that live there, some of them might be their family members. The people that they're going after, it's personal for them because they're going after their cousin and their uncle and their parents. And how does that make us safe?
So Miss Maria here is saying exactly what I told you earlier. Yeah, it used to belong to Mexico. So guess what? Our abuelas are here. Everybody is here. So we want to come here. Papi is here. Okay, everybody's here. So we want to come here and we don't have to come legally because it used to belong to Mexico. Like, you can't make any of this stuff up. And the fact that it's allowed, it's wow. With all this talk of Mexico this and Mexico that, and Mexicans coming across the border and they're indigenous to this land, and California used to be Mexico. So yeah, they could come over here because they're indigenous to this land and it was stolen and it should be given back. And so we don't need papers. All of this rigmarole. With all that being said, I wanted to know what the Mexican president had to say for herself about her citizens coming across the border. Yes, illegally migrating here. I wanted to know. And when I tell you she did not disappoint, she did not disappoint. When I tell you this TikToker broke it down so well, it's laughable how the president of Mexico actually thinks. And then I want you to see what the president of Mexico feels about immigration. Watch.
Want to know the wildest part about the president of Mexico calling for Mexican Americans to protest in the United States is? It's that exact same behavior is illegal in Mexico. Article 33 of the Mexican Constitution says that foreigners are prohibited from engaging in political activities, including demonstrations, as this is considered interference in national affairs. And participation in those activities can lead to detention and deportation. So what the president of Mexico is telling Mexicans in America to do, she doesn't allow in her own country, and she deports anyone who does it. So what she's calling for is all these illegal immigrants to protest against the deportations, when in her own country, if you did protest as a foreigner, it would get you deported. That is the height of hypocrisy. Telling people to do something in another country that you don't even allow in yours. Now I understand why the Democrats and liberals like her so much. She's just like them.
You can't make it up, okay? It is illegal over there for you to actually do demonstrations against the Mexican government. I wonder why. Yeah, because you can't be somewhere else that you're not even a citizen of and want to protest, okay? You can't come over here illegally and think you're supposed to stay. Now, staying on Mexico, a while back, I did a video on this exact thing. Mexico being hypocrites, essentially. I want you guys to see this flashback of my own video when I reported that Mexico had this problem. Their people protested to get them out, said that they don't know who these people are. They're artists and they're criminals. They're leaving trash everywhere. They're messing up Mexico. Like, it sounds like Americans. You cannot make this up. Watch.
People in Mexico are running out of patience with migrants, and why?
It's a huge problem in our neighborhood. The noise, the contamination, the garbage, the violence.
Longtime Mexico City resident Hugo Sanchez, whose child has a heart condition, is fed up with illegal immigrants in Mexico. He's worried the government resources will be diverted to deal with migrants. They defecate and urinate in public, says neighbor and retiree Leticia Melendez, who hopes President Trump will help Mexico close its southern border.
He may have some influence with our government, so together they can solve the problem. We can't continue like this.
Francisco Rosas Flores lives near a migrant camp housing mostly Cubans, Haitians, and Venezuelans. He calls the migrant influx an invasion and worries about the drug and alcohol abuse he sees.
We don't know these people, where they come from, if they have a criminal record. Most are unemployed because they don't do anything.
70% of Mexicans call illegal immigration excessive, according to a survey, and 40% want to limit or stop illegal immigration altogether.
All right, so you guys just saw that flashback of an old video of mine just a couple of months ago reporting on Mexico and all of its hypocrisy. They did not want the migrants there. They said they don't want their resources, their Mexican pesos. Okay, they don't want their resources going to migrants from Honduras and El Salvador. They didn't want this to happen. However, When they come over here, they want to do the exact same thing, okay? When they're degenerates or unwanted come over here, we are supposed to do what? Give them our resources? Like, you can't make this stuff up. I am so glad that I did that video because you can't find any of that reporting anywhere, okay? When I tell you I look for the truth, I look for the truth. And at the end of the day, Mexico, whatever you want to call it, does not own California. It doesn't belong to them anymore. And no, your people are going back if they are not here legally. They take our tax dollars that should be used for our schools and our roads. They take them and spend them on who? Illegal migrants who then work over here only to send their money back to Mexico, and then they put it in pesos, and then Mexico becomes rich. Oh, they know what they're doing, okay? They know what they're doing. That's why they send their people here, okay? Like everywhere else, because they know they're sending the money back and their banks are enriched with American dollars. You can't make this stuff up, and we will not allow it as American citizens. So guess what? If you don't like ICE immigration, oh well, come here legally and pay into our system where the money goes to us. I don't want to hear any of this. Will they get a tax ID number? No. I'm talking about we want you on papers, okay? Because guess what? It's like that everywhere else in the world, including Mexico. You guys get down in the comments, like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you thought about the illegal immigrants in Congress, okay? When you have the state representative in Minnesota and you have the U.S. Congresswoman Ramirez saying her whole family is illegal, okay? Her mother came here illegally and she's a congresswoman and she doesn't want these things to happen. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Where are we? And also, let me know what you think about my flashback of Mexico and how their citizens were saying that we don't want this to happen. We want these people out of here. All this immigration, it's messing our cities up. It's messing our money up. They're raising the crime rate. They leave trash everywhere. I mean, it's a mess. And we don't know where they're from. Nobody's vetting them. Sounds a lot like the United States. You can't make it up. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's your girl, Mika, and I'm out. Peace.